Hello.
Hello there.
How are you?
I am excellent. If you happen to hear strange background noise, someone decided about 5 minutes ago to start chainsawing down trees outside my front window. So this may sound a
Oh
little bit like,
no, I don't hear anything right now.
not right now. I'm hoping they're taking a coffee break.
Oh, good.
God. I love Someday. I think it's an absolutely beautiful album,
Oh,
and
thank you.
oh, you're most welcome, and I see that the song that was my favorite off of it, "Raining," is going to be the first single.
Yeah, I mean it's a little it's funny about the singles world these days because um, I wasn't sure what was going to happen, and because we're not approaching radio in sort of the old school way that I've been used to in the past, it was the one that Rolling Stone decided to play on their exclusive stream, but then AOL just contacted us, and they're playing a song called Picture Me. And so there's different songs, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen. But yes, I love that song. It was one of the first songs. It was an older song that I'd written with Mike Campbell from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers way back in 1989, and I rediscovered it. And so that sort of became one of the signature, well, just the key songs that motivated me to try to make this record.
Is that more than singles are being toppers at the poppers? It sounds like you're really writing songs that you feel for and let the audience find you rather than trying to find a market. Am I right, or am I
Yeah,
wrong as
you are
usual?
so right, it's very true that I think what happens is you hit a point in your life, and it's a really good place to be where you sort of have a new perspective on things. I think when I was younger and starting out in the Bangles, well, actually in the very early days of the Bangles, I didn't think about this at all. I only thought about, creating something that I was really excited about when we were a young club band, and we weren't really sure what was going to happen. And then as you get ensconced in the music business, and suddenly you're on this path, and you get on this treadmill, and it's just not stopping. It's just going, and there's a lot of voices in your head um, telling you lots of things, and it's easy to get confused. With this record, you're absolutely right. I really just wanted to sing and write and play things that I love, create thing that was meaningful to me, and I was, fingers crossed that other people would feel that when they listened to it, and it would touch people in some way. It would communicate something, something good. So you're right about that.
It it really does, and I love little touches, like little senses of the Sergeant Pepper horn sections, and
Hmm.
there's a bit of Brian Wilson in there too. What does that whole '60s ethic mean to you?
Well, so many things. I mean, for
Yeah.
one, it's the music that I fell in love with, first, and it's my first love in terms of just inspiration and the thing that motivated me to sing. I mean, I think, you know, I'll never escape it, and maybe that's a good thing. I feel like I just want to embrace it now, and Mitchell Froome was so amazing in that he saw the songs, he heard the songs for the first time, just very sparsely presented, no bells and whistles really, just my songwriting partner Andrew Brazel and myself going over to his house and playing them. But I think I taught myself to sing listening to 60s songs, and I'd always wanted, I love doing covers. My project with Matthew Sweet started as
Yep.
just a collection of 60s covers because I love singing those songs. So my goal was to create my own original versions of that, songs that felt completely natural for me, both emotionally and melodically. And then, and amazingly, I just found this songwriting partner who's so much younger than me, but had, even though he wasn't even born in the 60s, and he was born in the 1980s, which is bizarre, but he had come to that music as, he had fallen in love with that music too. So he understood as well as I did the beauty of it and the inspiration in it, the emotion in it, and then Mitchell, of course, became the perfect partner for us to create the sounds and the flavors that the album has. It just bring back that feeling and that ambiance, but in a very natural way, I think, hopefully.
You pulled it off beautifully, you and the entire team. For sheer curiosity's sakes, you and I were born within a few months of each other. You're managing it much better than I am, by the way. But I'm curious. Did you and your family happen to be around the television set that night in February '64 when the Beatles first appeared on Ed Sullivan?
I didn't see the Ed Sullivan show, although my bandmates in the Bangles did. Vicky and Debbie Peterson did watch the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I don't remember seeing it live. Did you see it?
Yeah, I did, and you know what? I vividly remember it. I was 6. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say you were 6? Is that what you said?
I was 6. Yeah. Or actually, I was turning 6. Officially,
Yeah.
I was still 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I was 5 in '64. I mean, I'm January 1959. So yeah, that's right. So they came in '64. Yeah, I turned 5 in 19. I can always add a year, and that's how I figure out my age at any given time, because I was born in January, so it's easy to kind of. So it was February. But, you know, I had Meet the Beatles, the U.S. version of it, very soon after it came out, because our neighbor and our family friends, the mom of actually my older brother's best friend's mom, I don't know why it's so convoluted for me to explain that, but she worked at Capitol Records, so we got those early Beatles records, and so I was aware of the Beatles. I just don't recall my parents, we weren't watching it, but I've seen those performances, now. But that's cool that you got to see it in real time.
Yeah.
Where were you?
I'm in Thunder Bay, Ontario,
Cool.
Canada. Yeah.
You saw it in Canada. You watched it in Canada.
I did, and I remember my granddad. He didn't think much of them, but my mom loved them.
What's not to love?
You bet. So which was your favorite Beatle when you were a kid? I'm betting that you were a Paul girl.
Yes, I would say I was a Paul girl. I've had a lot of, it's funny about the Beatles, because especially for those of us who grew up or experienced the 60s as kids, they were, and for those of us into music, it always goes back to the Beatles as the primary influence. But I think for me, not only was I in love with their music, but I think as a little girl, probably my first crush was on Paul, because I watched all the movies, and I remember, just kind of being attracted to everything about Paul, not only how he looked and how he acted, and it was so exotic for us in America, the accents and the whole British invasion, the clothes and the swinging London vibe of it. But over the years, once I went to college, I went to the University of California at Berkeley in the '70s, and I started to gravitate to John, and then I gravitated to George. So I had different Beatles at different times in my life. I sort of had more of a relationship with the individual ones, in my mind.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, because that very much is the path. You go from sort of love song, Paul, to revolutionary John, and then when you survive the revolution, then you go to more spiritual George and so forth, you know?
Exactly. It's true. It's really interesting. But that kind of, I tracked along that way myself, so that's really interesting. I like the way you put that. But it's just amazing how incredible the music they made was, or is. You know, is. It's timeless.
Truly. And then years later, you and the Bangles do going down to Liverpool. How did Leonard Nimoy end up in that video? I've always scratched my head at that and wondered, did Nimoy have any idea like what was going on?
Probably not. I mean, the thing is that I grew up in Los Angeles, and I went to preschool. So when I was like 3 and 4 years old, I went to school with the Nimoy children, Adam and Julie, and our parents became friends, and there was a really interesting group of people that amazingly came together through that preschool. My other friend there was Liz Gazzara, whose dad was Ben Gazzara, the actor, and he was best friends with Peter Falk and John Cassavetes. So
Yep.
my parents were very interesting, smart, and are interesting, smart people. My dad's a psychoanalyst from New York, and my mother grew up, originally she grew up on the East Coast, but ended up, growing up in Chicago, and my parents met at Yale in the 50s and moved out to California, and they're friends, and this happens when you have kids. You become friends with the parents. So they were in this really interesting world, even though they weren't in the entertainment business. Their friends were. And so the Nimoys were really close friends of our family prior to Star Trek. So we spent a lot of time with them and the Gazzaras. And in fact, as I said, this was prior to Star Trek, and Leonard was, a stage actor, and my mom worked on a really cool, my mom was a painter then. She ended up becoming a filmmaker, but probably because of the influence of all of her friends, but she did the makeup on some cool some sort of little film that Leonard was in. And so when the Bangles started to happen, and we were putting together videos during the 80s, my mom, we had the opportunity, actually I had the opportunity to work with my mom on the Going Down to Liverpool video, and she said, it would be great. We should call Leonard and see if he wants to be in it. And that's what happened, and he said yes. It's funny, too, that my mom made this short film for the AFI, for the American Film, the women's, there was a women filmmaking group in part of the American, the AFI, the American Film Institute, and this was also in the 80s. It was prior to the Bangles becoming successful. She did a short that she got John Cassavetes to star in called The Haircut. They're now re-releasing this. The British Film Institute actually discovered this film, this short film, and it's the Bangles' first ever on-camera. She had the Bangles play a little scene in it. So it's going to be seen again. And it went to the Cannes Film Festival and everything. It won some sort of prize for the short film thing. I forget what it was. But, yeah, so there was a lot of connection with these interesting Hollywood people growing up here in L.A. But that's L.A. for you.
Fantastic. And mom's still around and in good health and so forth?
Oh, yes. The parents are doing great, and they're still creative and active, and they both work in their 70s, and so all is well. Yeah, I'm very, very lucky. My parents, I really owe a lot to them because very early on they noticed that my bliss came from, my joy in life came from music and art and dance and just all aspects of the arts, and they always encouraged me to follow my bliss. They really did. They really, I really love that about my childhood. And I owe it all to my parents because they never made me feel like, oh boy, you better give that up and get practical now. They just didn't want to kind of encourage me to switch gears. They just said, keep exploring, and that's what happened, and so here I am today.
Fantastic. Every woman I know wants me to ask you this. What I mentioned I was going to be interviewing you. You're 53. You look and sound 23. What on earth is your secret, or is there this really ghastly portrait buried in an attic somewhere?
Well, my answer to that is partly very good genes inherited from my parents. I have to say my parents are so youthful for their age. So there's good genetics, I think, helping me out there. God, I've just been so, I don't know why. I always tell people I do this more for my mental health than anything, but my lifestyle is quite healthy. I mean, I was dancing since I was a little girl, so I have, I've always wanted to be fit, and those muscles that I developed, in all those dance classes are still there, and I am a serious walker. I mean, I have a girlfriend who's from France. She has an apartment in Paris. She wasn't originally from Paris, but she's like, it's very Parisian. She always says, it's so Parisian of you to be a walker, but that's what I do. I rarely miss a day where I just am out there walking. And to the girls who ask about keeping your skin together, I just use a lot of moisturizer. And I'm terrible. I drink coffee. I love coffee, so I don't know how that works, but I just try to keep a kind of a youthful attitude. I often forget that I am the age that I am because I love to surround myself with the energy of young people in a way. I'm very close with my 20-something niece and nephew, and that's actually how I met my writing partner, who's in his mid-20s. Well, actually, I think he's 27 now, so when I met him, he was 25. And so in all of their friends, we just made a video over the weekend for Picture Me, actually, and all the people in the video were in their mid-20s because I wanted the story. What I see in people of that age is that they're always taking pictures of each other. It's this whole age of all the Instagram and starting with Facebook. And, I mean, you know that we grew up in a time before all the Internet and all the digital everything and the instantness of everything. But I love the idea of sort of telling the story in a day in the life of your love life, if that's a way of saying it, a day in the life of different couples. So we found 3 couples that we all know, and we sort of spent the day with them. And then there's also a scene of all of us together playing the song with Andrew Brazel and all the couples there. So it's going to be a really nice little piece. But so yeah, I think the secret is stay fit, eat well, and moisturize with exclamation points. So you got to do it all day and all night. Keep the skin, use some kind of moisturizer. I'm always experimenting. Because so many people have been asking me about this, I'm actually launching a website, and I'm going to have a whole section of it where I show all the stuff that I do, so that, if anyone's curious about it, they can we can blog about what the best face creams are.
Great, and we'll happily link to it from the Herald Paris. So have your managers
Send
tell
you the
me
link for sure.
For sure, yeah. My greatest joy is helping out new artists. I got to help a young singer-songwriter get over at a blues festival this weekend. From your, there is nothing better in life than helping someone else make their dream come true, What would you advise new singer-songwriters, especially young women, going into this mad business?
Well, I think the thing that instantly pops into my head is that it's very hard to do when you have a lot of people kind of in your ear advising. The thing to kind of keep track of, I think, through all of that is the thing that got you there in the first place, that deep love and connection to music, and how you as an artist channel that, what your, finding your voice, for lack of a better way of saying it, literally, finding your voice through whether it's just trial and error and what you like to sing. I mean, for me, learning cover songs, singing along to things, and training myself, just my ear, kind of tuning my ear to what kinds of songs that I could sing and connect with and sound good on as a kid, but whatever age you are, finding your voice as a writer, and kind of your deep voice, whatever that is. What it all kind of comes from a desire to express something. So how do you do that? And I think, it's the stuff you listen to, it's the stuff you like. I think the danger comes from trying to figure it out in an analytical way. I think you can get lost. Or someone saying, you would be a great this or a great that. I think if you're going to kind of put yourself out there and, try to become an artist, strive for that, and that's your dream, there's got to be something that fueled it, something that's really at the core of you, what you're interested in, what your passion is, what you love in music, and that should be the guiding light, really. And that's always worked for me. What gets confusing is sifting through other people's opinions. And yes, they can be very helpful. I mean, I like to have, I like to work in I like to work with others, I should say. I don't do well completely by myself. So it's finding that balance. I really trust Mitchell Froome. I really love working with the other Bangles and with Andrew Brazel and the various writing partners that I've had over the years. But at the heart of it, you have to somehow go back to those. You've got to follow those instincts. You've got to tune yourself, be able to tune into them, and it can be really hard. It's easier said than done, but that would be my key advice.
Wonderful. I've got two more short ones.
Okay. And yeah, we just need to wrap this up. But thank you. And you can ask the other two for short.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Thank you.
And bless your heart for it, because a dear friend of mine, Lex Olson, who is a massive fan of yours, Lex is a filmmaker in California, and he wanted me to ask you that there's a rumor that you were tricked into recording Eternal Flame while nude. Is this true? And men across the world will want to know what trick works to make a woman sing in a nude.
That is so funny. Okay, I was tricked because of my gullibleness, and I did actually officially win most gullible in the middle school poll that they did, for the yearbook. David Segerson is he was an incredible producer. He's a friend, but for some funny reason in the studio, one of the things that he wanted to do with all the Bangles was create different nights that we scheduled to do our lead vocals, because we did the project where we tracked and then sang later. Very different from how I recorded this album with Mitchell. But so everybody sort of was clean for a day, or for their night of recording, and he would want to make sure everybody had their favorite tea or their favorite drink or their favorite whatever. And for some reason, he was just joking around with me and telling me about, he had just finished producing Olivia Newton-John, and he said something, and I just took him seriously, literally. He said, oh, I think he was just teasing. He said, well, she likes to sing in the nude. She does her best vocals that way. And he wasn't being serious, but I said, really? And he said, oh yeah, we did all her songs that way. And I don't know what why I went for it, but I said, well, that sounds, I want to try that. I want my vocals to be really great. And so somehow, but just so you know, so I did sing in various states of undress. I think I might have been wearing like underwear during it, but we got into this funny thing where they put a screen up, like a changing screen kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So they didn't see me, even though there's a glass booth there. But yes, I did sing. So I guess one thing was I admit to my gullibility. But I also, just so you know, I wasn't revealed in front of them. But then it became this ritual because as soon as I did the first vocal that way and it was working, and I kind of compare it to skinny dipping. I think there was a kind of a thrill in feeling so vulnerable. So it became this thing where they would be in the control room going, okay, and they would wait for the sound of the, the clothes falling off on hitting the wooden floor. And it became just this funny ritual during the making of the Everything record.
Oh,
so that
wonderful.
Is true.
Wonderful. And the very last thing, my publisher at the Herald, Paris, is a wonderful, intelligent woman named Jess Alexander. I'm very lucky because I get to work for someone I love. And I asked Jess, is there anything you would like me to ask you? And Jess said, well, ask her if she'll sing Happy Birthday at my next birthday party. I will edit this down and save that clip separate. Would you do me a favor and sing Happy Birthday to Jess?
Can I record it and do it well and send it to you?
Oh, bless your heart. That would be wonderful.
Can you tell Claire at MSO?
Yep.
Like, is it just send the information and I'll just pop it? I could do a much better version and send it to you.
I
could even do it later today.
Oh, you are one of the sweetest people, and thank you so much for doing it. You are one of the handful of people in music that I've truly always wanted to interview. Thank you for wearing out the grooves on all those Bangles albums in the 80s, and I truly hope, and I'll do everything I can. I hope that...
Thank you. And you know what, I have a sound of pencil, so is it Jess, like Jessie, like Jessica?
Yes.
Is it Jess?
Yes.
Okay, I got it down now. I'll make a little recording of it and send it to you.
Oh, you're a love.
Thank you so much for the kind words about the record, too, by the way. It means the world to me. I'm really hoping people will discover it, and I hope that they enjoy it as much as I enjoyed making it. So wonderful to talk with you, and I'll get that little recording of it.
You're an angel. Thank you.
See you later. Thank you.
Bye-bye now.